Hvala lepa, da ste prišli. Tole je dogodek, ki bo zaključil projekt, ki se imenuje Misliti bodočnost, primerjalna antropološka študija pričakovanja v jugovzhodni Evropi, ki smo ga v bistvu v zadnjih 3 oziroma 4 letih Miha Kozorog, Nina Vodopivec, Nataša Gregorič-Pon in jaz kot glavni sodelavci pri projektu dejansko počeli. Z nami pa so sodelovali tudi Ane Jelenkar in Borut Stelban. Jaz bom samo na par besed rekla v slovenskem jeziku, potem bom šla na angleški jezik, glih toliko, da vas pozdravim. Gre pa za projekt, ki se dejansko ukvarja z vprašanjem negotovosti. Se pravi, v času, kadar je projekt bil zamišljen, je v Sloveniji bilo dejansko veliko govora o krizi, o prekarnosti. Antropološke študije so v tistem času že spremljale različne študije prekarnega na različnih geografskih lokacijah, ampak mene je dejansko zanimalo, kako bi bilo antropološko pristopiti vprašanju prekarnosti in negotovosti v lokacijah, ki so že tako drugače razumljene kot negotove oziroma prekarne. Se pravi, v nekih geopolitično problematičnih podnarekovaji območjih. V ta namen smo se zbrali in naredili komparativno študijo, ki se je dogajala v Sloveniji, Albaniji in v Srbiji, in to je dejansko poslednja konferenca tekom tega projekta. Imeli smo že eno veliko v Helsinkih ter 3 manjše v Ljubljani. Še ena stvar. Prosti primerki glasnika Slovenskega etnološkega društva so v tisti sobi, v primeru, če kdo želi mogoče vzeti kakšen primerek. Par nas je objavilo že nekaj člankov v tej reviji. Drugače pa je ideja takšna, da vsak govorec ima 30 minut, dobrih 30 minut pač za govor. Čim manj uvodnega govora, potem ne bomo imeli takoj vprašanj in odgovorov, to bomo pač počeli kasneje v 3 za to opredeljenih pavzah in potem na koncu bo sledila seveda generalna diskusija. Vmes bo zaokrožila tudi prezenčna lista, tako da če ste prijazni, pa da podpišete. In to je to. Dobrodošli, hvala vam. So now just English. Good morning, everyone. Maybe some of you already understood a little bit of what I've said. We have some wonderful guests here today, guests from Slovenia and guests from a couple of different places. And we're going to be talking about very different things today. We're going to be talking about future, about hopes, about expectations, about Rilke, from ethnographic perspectives of Papua New Guinea, of India, of Serbia, of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Mongolia, Albania, and so forth and so on. So absolutely most welcome to join the whole day with us. This is going to be a long day. 10 speakers will be presenting basically their papers. Papers are going to be lasting for 30 minutes. So Q&A sessions will be taken afterwards. And I really just want to give all the space to the presentations because in the end we could be able to have a really good discussion. Just a few words about this project. This project is a last academic event within a research project that was called Sizing the Future, a comparative investigation of expectations in Southeast Europe that 4 colleagues here presented, Miha Kozorog, Nina Vodopivec, Nataša Gregorič-Pon, and I were basically doing for the last 4 years. And Borut Stelban and Ane Jelenkar were also joining us in this project in different aspects during the whole duration of it. Now, as I said, the exciting thing about this day today is that we're trying to approach the question of uncertainty, precarity, future from various different ethnographic instances. So we're going to be talking about this whole thing from the perspective of Mongolian ethnography, and ethnography of Papua New Guinea, ethnography from Slovenia, Albania, India, and many others. But the point is that we are trying to basically come here together in order to understand what really precariousness may mean in today's narratives and various practices that we are basically witnessing, not only in academia but in the general world. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity today. to be with you, all of you here, and to discuss the whole project. I'm going to start first with my presentation, a little bit earlier. No, sorry, I completely forgot one thing. What I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce every single speaker now, so we would have enough time later on to follow the whole thing. Professor Rebecca Emerson comes from UCL, and she has research interests in topics like kinship, personhood, the politics of personhood, memory, wealth and fortune, new and alternative economies, ideas about value, also waste, and visual and material culture. She has done her long-standing fieldwork in Mongolia, but has recently also done some fieldwork on coastal Britain, which is very, very interesting. And she's currently leading a 5-year-long ERC project called Emerging Subjects of the Mongolian Economy. The project asks why some resource-rich nations become wealthy, while others seem to become the engines that fuel growth elsewhere. It focuses on the country of Mongolia, a country with large mineral resources, but little sign of internal economic growth. Our next speaker will be Safet Haji Muhamedovic, I'm sorry. He is an anthropologist always, of landscape and religion, particularly interested in time and temporality, home, syncretic, the notion of syncretic, cosmologies, post-conflict spaces, nationalism, and many other things. And his long-term fieldwork was done in Bosnia, with also stints of research in Basque Country and Palestine, Israel. In 2018, he published a book called Waiting for Elijah, Time and Encounter in a Bosnian Landscape, that delves into the post-war echoes of cosmic bodily encounters and syncretic seasonal celebrations in southeastern Bosnian highlands. Can you hear me, by the way? Mm-hmm. Good. Nicholas Lackenby will be the following speaker. He comes from University of Cambridge and is an anthropologist interested in ancestral religions, Orthodox Christianity, specifically in post-socialist context. Also interested in liturgical lives and aesthetic formations. He's just about to hand in his PhD with a working title, Time, History and Divinity Amongst Serbian Orthodox Christians, which is based on his fieldwork in Kraljevo. Anna Jelnikar, that comes from ZRC SAZU. Her main research interests revolve around the cultural and literary connections between India and Slovenia in the wider historical context of former Yugoslavia and East Central Europe. Her area of study encompasses post-colonial Indian modernity, Bengali literature, Anglophone Indian writers, the history of nationalism and universalism in South Asia and Europe, intellectual history of ideas, and avant-garde artistic movements between the two world wars. She has conducted extensive fieldwork in India, in West Bengal, but also in other places, and her approach draws critically not that much on anthropology, but on cultural and post-colonial studies perspectives. Amongst other things, Anna is also a very renowned translator of Slovene poetry. Natasha Gregoric-Bon is a social anthropologist with many years of research experience in Albania. She has researched and published prolifically on migration, marginality, spatial anthropology, anthropology of infrastructure, and border dynamics. In her work, she often combines anthropological approach together with techniques of remote sensing and human geography approach. And currently, she's leading an ARRS-funded project called Experiencing Water Environments and Environmental Change, an anthropological study of water in Albania, Serbia, and Slovenia. Now, Nina Vodopivec has expertise in economic anthropology, the anthropology of post-socialism, gender studies, and labor studies. She has published extensively on industrial workers, memory, and intercultural communication. And as a researcher, lecturer, and NGO activist, Nina, in her own words, says that she struggles to fight various forms of social exclusion, discrimination, xenophobia, and racism. Micha Kozorok obtained his PhD in ethnology in 2008 and since published extensively on post-transition expectations, phenomena relating to migration and remoteness, anthropology of space, place in landscape, tourism, festivals, and many, many other things in the region of Slovenia and Friuli, Venezia Giulia. And for a good while, Miha was also an editor-in-chief of the Bulletin of the Slovenian Ethnological Society. He works both here at ZRC SAZU and as well as assistant professor for cultural and social anthropology at the Department of Ethnology at the University of Ljubljana. Borut Tilban, just to introduce all of you to each other, received his PhD in anthropology from the Australian National University in 1994. His anthropological research among the Karavari-speaking people of the East Sepik province, Papua New Guinea, has spanned more than 25 years. In his published works, he has explored Abonvari cosmology, cultural construction of space and time, kinship and social organization, ritual, death, poetics, language, and socio-cultural change pertaining to the impact of the Catholic charismatic movement. He is head of anthropology department at the Institute of Anthropological and Spatial Studies and held numerous visiting positions at the University of Manchester, St. Andrews, Vienna, California, Cairns Institute, James Cook University, and many others. And lastly, Pirjo Virtanen. Her research interests include Amazonian onto-epistemologies, indigenous politics, oral history, indigenous youth, research methods, research ethics, and post-humanism. Her book, Indigenous Youth in Brazil and Amazonia, was published in 2012 and examined how do Amazonian native young people perceive, question, and negotiate the new kinds of social and cultural situations in which they find themselves. Pirjo also serves as a PI on several research projects, amongst which we should mention two, Creative Indigenous Actors and Transforming the Future in Brazil, Ritual and Indigenous Agencies. And she is also Director of Indigenous Studies at the University of Helsinki. My name is Maja Petrović-Šteger, and I was a PI of this project, and I'm looking forward to start this whole session.